Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Site Spotlight. My name is Marieke van der Rakt and I'm here with Taco Verdonschot. Welcome Taco, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, for we have a new website lined up and we're going to take a look at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
so
kick it off, Marieke. What are we looking at?
I will, because we're first going to look at what this website is about. So, what is this website about? The website is called Conversion Bridge, and let's take a look at the homepage of Conversion Bridge. So, right at the top, we see the headline: Analytics and Conversion Tracking for WordPress without headaches. And then underneath that, turn hours of analytics and conversion tracking setup frustrations into an easy task that just takes minutes without code to learn what's actually working on your site. This is a very long sentence. Please break that up into separate sentences because this is really hard to grasp, to understand what it's about. So I do feel like I'm exactly the right target audience here because this speaks directly to a common pain point that I recognize. Because setting up analytics, setting up conversion, that can be a mess. So the promise of a simple, no-code solution is very appealing. It's a strong opening, I think. But that said, I wonder if this message is clear to people that aren't as familiar with digital marketing. So that could be a thing, opening it a bit up for people that aren't familiar with all these terms could be something to look into. So if you click on the watch how it works, you'll get a video, and that's a great addition. It's helpful and it's visually engaging, but I think that needs a more prominent place. Maybe play it directly on the homepage instead of behind a button. I think that would boost engagement. So even further down, you get a lot more detail about the product. A whole series of questions that really focus on user pain points. And I really enjoy that approach. Often companies jump straight into features and forget to connect with the actual problems. But Conversion Bridge doesn't fall into that trap. They highlight the symptoms of a broken setup, or things like not knowing if your sales are being tracked, or understanding what's working on your site. I think that's really smart. There are quite a few of them, so perhaps it's a bit overwhelming. And then, if you scroll a bit further down, I read the phrase, like Zapier for conversion tracking. Well, I just saw it, but Taco scrolled beneath it. But I like the analogy here. Short, modern, and instantly telling me what the tool is meant to do to automate and simplify. So all in all, strong job connecting with real user problems. The copy is clear and confident, but some of the sentences are a bit too hard. And perhaps it might help to be a bit more concrete about what the tool actually does. That's my first impression, Taco.
All right.
Back to you.
Let's get technical. What I'd like to start is with the sitemap. So let me navigate to the sitemap. That's sitemap.xml for most WordPress websites. And you can see that they have a Yoast SEO sitemap. That's a little bit more sophisticated than the default WordPress sitemap, so definitely a good choice. Now, one of the things that immediately stands out for me, and you can see that it's already a visited link, is the fact that there's an author sitemap. This is very useful if you have multiple authors, but if you have only one, it means that it links to an author page, and that author page, as you can see, there's only one. That author page is an exact duplicate of your blog page. So this might actually be duplicate content on your site, which is not very helpful. So in case you only have a single author, you shouldn't have this sitemap and this page. Luckily, because the site's running Yoast SEO, it's a one-click solution. You can just disable the entire author archive in the Yoast SEO settings. Now, the other thing that stands out is that the author is called Sunshine.
Right.
And I mean, who's Sunshine? Well, I know what Sunshine is, but how does it relate to this website? So it's much more valuable to have a person, an actual existing person be the author of the site, of the articles, instead of some random username or admin or your company name. Make sure that this is an actual user. Now, if we go back to the sitemap index, you see that there are a few category sitemaps as well. And if we open, for example, the doc category, you see that there's several categories listed here. Now, the problem with those categories is that it's a page with just 4 links and no other data. So it's very, very thin content, which means it's not very valuable to your website. So if you have these documentation pages or these overview pages, these category pages, make sure that they have some unique content as well.
Yeah, and they are using Yoast SEO, and Yoast SEO allows you to quickly edit those pages and make something valuable out of them.
Yep, absolutely. So that's worth spending some time on if you have those category pages that they have valuable content. So that was it for the technical part.
So let's take a look at the content of Conversion Bridge. So I took a look at some of the blog posts there. So from what I've seen, Derek, which is the founder, is doing a really solid job here. So aside from the blog post we're now looking at, he is sharing podcasts and interviews and mixes those with release updates and informative blog posts. So I think all in all, it's a good selection of content that he's publishing. Because let's be honest, you don't want to publish just for the sake of publishing. You want to give your audience something that's actually worth reading or listening to. And I think Derek really gets that. So I looked at this post and some of the other posts in more detail. And I have to say, I think Derek is also doing a good job in writing. The tone is friendly and accessible. He avoids jargon. He speaks directly to the reader. And that works really well for a blog format. He also shares personal experiences. He connects them back to the product. That builds authenticity, that builds trust. And I think he also links to a lot of other relevant content, which is great from an SEO perspective. He seems to be focusing on the right kind of topics. So a lot of good stuff here. What can we improve? So I think I talked about this already, sentence length. Really, some of the sentences are much too long, something to watch out for. Once a sentence passes the 20 words, it's really, really hard for people to understand that sentence. It's hard for your brain to process that. I think headings could be used more consistently and more strategically. Try to use clear, specific headings that contain the keywords you want to be found for. Don't be afraid to break things up with subheadings. That makes the content much more easier to scan. And finally, what I miss, a lot of blog posts just miss an ending. So miss a call to action. Always try to think about what you want your reader to be next, to do next, not to be next, to do next. That might be reading a related post, signing up for something, or checking out a product feature. But even something small like linking to the About page can help people be engaged and moving through the site. So I think that's something to add as well. And that was it for content.
There's an accessibility tool, it's called WAVE. And WAVE has a fantastic browser add-on that allows you to test your website against all of their checks. So when we enable the browser add-on on the conversion site, what we see is there's 80 errors on the page. That's a lot. So let's look at what's happening here. If we click on View Details, we see that the most common error is that there's a linked image that's missing an alt text. And an alt text is important for people who use assistive technology, for example, a screen reader, to understand what's in an image because they can't see. So what images are those? I'm disabling the browser add-on for a bit because it makes it easier to scroll the page. Well, all of these, all the plugin integrations, all the company names in here, they're all lacking an alt text. And so the interesting thing is, yes, these are all images. So you could describe them as this is a WS Form logo, this is a Gravity Forms logo, this is a Cadence WP logo. But that's not very helpful. What you would want to do in this case is describe what the action on the image does. So, for example, if you have the WS form, you would want the alt text to say links to WS form website or go to WS form website instead of WS form logo, because that's more descriptive of what's going to happen when a user clicks that image. Now, overall, when we're looking at the website, color contrast doing a pretty good job. There are some exceptions where it's insufficient. For example, when you see this green check against a blue greenish background, that doesn't have sufficient contrast. So that is slightly problematic. It will be hard to see for people with vision impairment. The other thing that's hard to spot is when we go to the homepage. Let me load it again, and we use the keyboard only. So I'm not using my mouse for now. I'm just tabbing through. And the first thing I would want to see is a skip to main content link. Unfortunately, when I hit tab, you saw that little blob appear, but it doesn't seem to show anything. Well, if I hover it, I see a black on dark blue that says skip to content. So this is actually the working link, but it's invisible because of the color contrast problem here. So that's something to be fixed as well.
Yeah.
And that
All things are really quick to improve, right? So easy things to improve.
Absolutely, yes. All right, next up, we're going to look at the site speed. And to do that, we use a tool called PageSpeed Insights by Google. And this is a site that will help you check how you're doing on various areas. For example, on Web Vitals, which is a set of important metrics for your site. Now, when we look at the desktop version, you can see that it's mostly in the greens, although it's missing the interaction to next paint and time to first byte test. And if we look at the key performance diagnoses, it's okay-ish. We already talked about accessibility, and there's some improvement to performance and to the other areas. However, if we look at the you can see that there's much, much more to improve. So Google doesn't have enough data to give you a Core Web Vitals statistic. But what we do see is that performance is taking a hit on mobile. That basically means that on slower internet connections, your site is not performing very well. And we can see that when we scroll down, where the largest contentful paint, which is the most important visual area on your site, takes almost 5 seconds to load, which is a very, very long time. So there is some room for improvement, and a lot of that can be done through, for example, optimization with a caching plugin like NitroPack, or by using a CDN like Cloudflare. So that will definitely help speed up your website. There might be other things, but it's worth looking into because on mobile, there is a lot of room for improvement. And with that, we've almost reached the end of view today, but there's one thing that we should mention, right, Marika?
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot. So it's the arrows. The arrows. I immediately thought these are like invasive and annoying, but you kind of liked them at first, right, Taco?
Yes. So at first I was like, oh, this is okay, especially when you scroll down a little bit. The arrows move only once.
Yeah, right.
And that's nice. It's a nice break. It draws attention, but it's not too annoying.
Yeah.
But when we were reviewing the top
The
of the
home
homepage, that arrow keeps moving, and that's maybe a little bit much.
Yeah, I agree. I also think I generally don't like moving objects on a website, but this one, this arrow is a little bit too annoying. So I would also make it to move once here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then it's a nice gimmick. It draws attention, but
Yes.
not too much.
Too much. Yeah. Okay, this was it, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I had great fun, and I'll see you in the next episode.
See you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. We know your time is valuable and we're glad you spent some of it with us. If you got value from today's video, go ahead and like, leave a comment and hit subscribe and the bell so you don't miss the next tip. And if you're ready to keep going, check out another video right here. We've got more ways to help you level up your website without the overwhelm.